So, hello everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome to our third and final episode of Going Global, brought to you by Moneycorp Bank in Gibraltar. So today we'll be diving into as many topics as we possibly can within the window of time that we've got, covering Gibraltar clearly, including what the future holds for Gibraltar for us in a Brexit environment. So I'm delighted to say that Moneycorp Bank is doing more business with more clients in more geographies than we arguably have ever done in our history. We're helping our corporate clients, we're helping private clients, financial institutions, banks. We're helping them grow and thrive internationally with the full range and support of our technology, our services, our products, our payment gateway, and as important, our people. So my name's Michael Azopardi. I'm the CEO of Moneycorp Bank in Gibraltar, and I'm joined today by our esteemed guest, Gibraltar's Minister for Digital and Financial Services, the Honourable Albert Isola MP. Very good morning to you, Albert. Hope you're well, and thank you for joining us.
A pleasure. Nice to be with you.
Albert, moving on to finding out more about Gibraltar today. So we at Moneycorp Bank, we find Gibraltar as a stable base, a hub to operate from, and we are acutely aware of the attractive factors that Gibraltar delivers. Share with us how Gibraltar has responded to what is undoubtedly an eventful 2020, and how 2021 has kicked off for Gibraltar.
The first thing I'd like to say in response to that is what an absolute pleasure it is for us here in Gibraltar to have Moneycorp Bank licensed and regulated and working from here. I was especially pleased when the banking application was filed. You will know that traditional banks have retrenched from traditional banking, and so to have a niche bank like Moneycorp with the reputation and the quality that you bring, setting up your home in Gibraltar was a privilege for us and a pleasure to have you amongst our ranks as a regulated firm here. So I think that to be with you today is just another step in that direction, and acknowledging and wishing and hoping to support you in everything that you do from Gibraltar. As you said, I think 2020 has been a hugely challenging year for the world. Never have we seen a crisis that attaches to our health and our economy in such a cutthroat, critical, and serious way. And the resolution of this crisis is neither financial nor health, it's both. And how do we deal with trying to cope with the pandemic and in dealing with the livelihoods of all of our people, whilst at the same time dealing with the economic downturn and how we're going to get out of this as we begin to resolve the health crisis. So we've never seen before a crisis which impacts on both our economy and our health in the way that this one does. And it's tested every country, big and small. And obviously we have not escaped that either. I think the way that we dealt with it in the first wave, we had 0 deaths in the first wave. But the second wave, and particularly the spike in the second wave, has hit us harder than we expected, with deaths now surpassing 20, which for us is a very, very large number, as it's got into our old people's home, which in the first phase, we were very successful in withstanding. And so now, being a small jurisdiction as we are, I'm delighted to say our vaccination program is well underway. We are vaccinating people at a very fast rate. The United Kingdom has provided vaccines for all of its overseas territories, and that is now in full swing. And so I hope that in the coming months, we will move out of this quicker than some of the large countries will be able to, simply because of our size. And when I talk about our size, it's something that is very relevant to everything that we do, whether it's in financial services or gaming or in health. Our agility as a small jurisdiction is a key factor which differentiates us from many of our competing countries. So when I rewind the clock and I look at how our businesses were affected this year, Our online gaming firms were affected when we had a stoppage of sport, obviously. But at the same time, as the sports were stopped, we still had the gaming, the poker, the casinos, which continued. And as people were at home, they saw, bizarrely, an uplift in their business. So they sort of held each other up until the sports came back. Our financial services firms have carried on, even though during lockdown, they were working from home. So we've divided up our business community into those that needed help and those that didn't. And so all our financial services firms, all our gaming firms actually had no help. They continued to work during this period from home primarily, but without government financial support. All the others that we forced to close and we had to close, we then supported with furlough-style measures, which went right across the spectrum of support on rent, on rates, on tax, on social insurance. We asked private landlords to provide reductions in rent for these firms too. So for all of these businesses, we prop them up by reducing their cost. And by reducing their costs, we've enabled them to survive. We also took measures to prevent insolvency action being taken, enforcement action being taken during this period of time to ensure that we didn't have the domino effect of one business going down, causing another to go down, another to go down. And we've been very successful. The result of that program today, 10 months in, has been very positive. We have had very few companies going down, unlike in the rest of the world. And as we begin to come out of this in the coming months, this support continues. So we have entered into banking facilities with United Kingdom Bank with a sovereign guarantee from Her Majesty's government in the UK to provide the support to us to enable us to fund these furlough schemes and see us through. So in all of these areas, we've actually done remarkably well. The business community today continues, even though in a lighter lockdown, but still in a lockdown. Our online gaming firms are working flat out. Our financial services firms are working flat out. Our retail sector is closed, non-essential, as are other bits of our economy. But we continue to work and we continue to operate. And I think, as I said before, agility, which I'll mention throughout our discussion, is very, very important for us. And so when I look back at GIB and where we've come from these past 10, 15 years, were we a tax haven? Yes, we were. Did we change our tax system? Yes, we did. Did we comply with every single EU directive in the areas of compliance, exchange of information? Yes, we have. Is there a single piece of legislation as we exited the European Union on the 31st of December that was left undone? No, there wasn't. So as a small territory of 32,000 people, to be able to be 100% compliant with every single EU directive in the area of money laundering, exchange of information, compliance, due diligence, KYC, is actually quite remarkable. But that's the journey that we embarked on, and that's where we are today. And that is why we've been successful in managing to attract firms of the quality and the reputation of Moneycorp to come to GIB and to work with us.
Indeed, indeed. And that leads me on nicely into, and you mentioned before about financial services. I think financial services is we know, is a key pillar of Gibraltar's economy and arguably one of its most successful sectors. And from Moneycorp's perspective, this has certainly supported us in our global positioning, our licensing, accessibility, and obviously expansion into the global reach. I think it's I read and we hear about the new applications or that the Financial Services Commission is receiving from international businesses in relation to Gibraltar, and it's fair to say that we ourselves have seen that activity during Q3 certainly and Q4 of international businesses, financial institutions, investment firms looking at Gibraltar and certainly talking to us about establishing banking services for their foreign exchange and international payments. And I think it's also fair to say, Albert, that Gibraltar's uninterrupted access to the UK for financial services continues making Gibraltar an attractive proposition and an attractive place to set up their hub. Perhaps you can help, you can expand on those successful sectors and also those up and coming sectors that aid in creating this, attractive, diverse, and stable economy that Gibraltar has enjoyed so far.
Yes, I think to put that into context, in the last 6 months of 2020, in the midst of COVID, 6 months before the end of the Brexit transitional period, our Financial Services Commission, our independent regulator and our competent authority, has never had more applications before it than it did in 2020. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking, what the heck is going on there? Why is that happening? Well, the truth is that since Brexit, and this needs to be put into its appropriate context, in 2016, we here in Gibraltar have been working with the UK to see what Brexit meant to us. And so in 2016, we did what we call these heat maps, which looked at our economy and studied where were the areas of business that we had most here on the Rock. And we discovered that of the business that we had using the single market of the European Union, just 8% of our financial services business was passporting into the European Union, and 92% was with the United Kingdom. So it was very stark, and clearly we hadn't been as successful as we thought we had been in passporting into the European Union. But importantly for us, it immediately told us that if we managed to secure ongoing access to the UK financial services market, we were going to be fine from a financial services perspective.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We embarked in engaging with the Manchester government in the United Kingdom over a process of 3 years in reaching to what we call GAR, the Gibraltar Authorization Regime. The Financial Services Bill in the United Kingdom has been laid before Parliament. I give evidence to the House of Commons Committee in December of last year. And that will come through at the end of this year, which is the formal piece of legislation which recognizes that Gibraltar will continue to have access to the United Kingdom financial services market. Incredible, because it's the only territory in the rest of the world that has access to the United Kingdom financial services business. So if you wanted to set up in London, in the City of London, you can set up in the City of London, or you can set up in Gibraltar and access exactly the same market. From a place where I would tell you is much nicer to live, where the climate is much better, with Spain, Portugal and Africa on the doorstep, and with all those other benefits, apart from, of course, a more competitive tax environment and a better quality of life. So that financial market access to the UK is critical for our development. And I believe that the 8% we've lost in passporting throughout the European Union will be more than made up with our ongoing closer and better relationship with the United Kingdom. And so the Brexit scenario for us from a financial services perspective, I think is safe and indeed positive, and provides us with a lot more opportunities than we had before, because before you could access the United Kingdom from all the other 27 member states, and now you can only access it from here in Gibraltar. Yeah. If you look at gaming, which is also an important area for us, we've got here, and if I could just go back to financial services to give you an idea of the scope of that relationship with the City of London, around 20-25% of the UK motor insurance market is written from here in Gibraltar. That's 1 in every 4 cars driving around the UK has got a Gibraltar insurance policy. That's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. Yeah. And that's one of the areas that we focused on this past 10 or 15 years very successfully. In the online gaming space, 75% of online bets taken in the UK are written here in Gibraltar. That's a huge number. And we've only got 15 businesses that are B2Cs in the online gaming space, but they are the biggest names, the biggest brand names that you'll hear around the world. Ladbrokes, Gala, Coral, William Hills, Bet365, Betfred, 32 Red, all the names that you're very familiar with in the UK have their base here, with 3,500 people employed in these businesses in Gibraltar, on a 24/7 operation. And again, what was the challenge with Brexit? Well, we wanted to align ourselves closer to the United Kingdom. We entered into an MOU between our gambling regulator and the UK Gambling Commission through the Department of Culture, Media and Sports, United Kingdom. And we now enjoy a closer and better relationship than we ever have done before. So two of our key economic engines in our economy are secure and looking healthy and stable for the future as that relationship with the United Kingdom gets better and gets closer. And so if you look at that, what does Brexit mean? The key threat to us on Brexit has always been mobility. We've got 15,000 people that cross our border every day to come and work in Gibraltar, in financial services, in online gaming, in construction, in healthcare, across the entire spectrum. Around 9,000 of whom are actually Spanish. So to have a hard border at our frontier with Spain in a Brexit scenario is of enormous significance to us. And so the agreement that the Chief Minister announced on New Year's Eve, literally hours before the hard border was to be introduced, of a framework agreement with Spain, the United Kingdom and Gibraltar, agreeing a Schengen-style access for Gibraltar, is the last piece in the jigsaw that we required in order to give us that ability to move forward and to enjoy shared prosperity with the neighbouring region, which is what both the British government and the Spanish government, as well as us here, have been seeking these last 12 months that we sought this. So we're looking good. We're in a good place. Our business community is comfortable. We now have 6 months in which we will work on the treaty with the European Commission relating to the Schengen arrangements that I've just mentioned. And so I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, indeed. Just, talking about the attractiveness of Gibraltar, Albert, and you mentioned the access to the UK, and clearly Gibraltar is attracting a large number of businesses. In your view, what are the driving factors behind this that are making it and continue making Gibraltar so attractive? Be it the legal system, we talked about Privy Council, our own legal system based on the UK, etc.
Well, I think you've touched on a key factor. If you're going to be accessing the UK market primarily, your laws and your regulatory environment and framework have to be aligned to the UK. Ours are. We have a British legal system.
Indeed.
As you've mentioned, our highest appellate court is the Privy Council in London. All the lawyers working in Gibraltar, all the accountants working in Gibraltar are UK qualified. Most of our bankers, like you, are UK qualified. So across the entire spectrum of our jurisdiction, the relationship with the UK is a key pillar. People understand how we work because we mirror the UK. Of course, what are the key ingredients to make to our success? For me, without any doubt, we would not have any niche areas, whether it's in gaming, whether it's in financial services, if we didn't have the agility that we have. There isn't anywhere that can, if it wants to engage with its gaming community, as the Minister for Online Gaming, I can meet the CEO of every single gaming firm this week. 15 phone calls, 15 meetings, and I can touch every single gaming B2C in Gibraltar. There's no other jurisdiction that can do that. In financial services, likewise. We have the Finance Centre Council, which is a group that represents the entire financial services community. I meet them once a month. We talk about what problems they have, what are the challenges they face, and what are the opportunities. And so when we set up working groups, we've just announced this week in the blockchain space, setting up a working group as to how we can improve our legislation and regulatory framework to deal with market manipulation, market integrity in the blockchain space. That's a working group with experts from around the world, leading experts, some of the best brains in that space from the United States, from the United Kingdom, from Gibraltar, and from all over the place. And that is a group that will sit with government, with the working group, and with the regulator. So private sector, public sector, regulator sitting around a table, looking at the problem and saying, how can we make this fit for purpose? And so when we introduced on the 1st of January 2018 the new legal framework, the first in the world on distributed ledger technology, it shouldn't have caught anyone by surprise. Because like we did in gaming 25 years ago, before even internet was mainstream, we see the opportunity and we do it, but we do it properly. In other words, we only introduce it when we have the legal and regulatory framework to do it properly. So that the three key factors, quality, regulation, and reputation, are the most important things that we hold dearest to ourselves in whatever we do, whether it's financial services or gaming. So we set up the framework and then we bring the business. In gaming 25 years ago, we actually regulated by contract. Well, that may seem bizarre, but the regulation, the legislation wasn't in place. So we entered into contracts with the people that we gave license to, and the schedule to that contract was the regulatory framework. So we actually regulated one at a time by private contract. The legislation followed, adopting those same T&Cs. And so now, obviously, we're a little bit more agile and better able, better equipped with the resources in lawyers, and so to have the regulation coming through first. So in all of the areas that we worked with the Funds and Investment Association, JIFIA, we've introduced a new dual funds regime. These are things that only small jurisdictions can do. And of course, in the same way that government can do it, so can private firms. So you know, as the CEO of Moneycorp Bank in Gibraltar, that if you want to meet the regulator tomorrow, the CEO of the regulatory, the Financial Services Commission tomorrow, you can call him and you can have a coffee with him tomorrow, and you can talk about things that you're worried about or things that you're excited about, and he'll give you his take. It doesn't mean that the systems that we have are better or worse than in the UK, but they're certainly more accessible. And one of the key areas why insurance firms, motor insurance firms, have come to Gibraltar is because of that accessibility. If they want to add a new class to their insurance profile portfolio, they can engage with the regulator. The regulator encourages you to file draft applications so that you can flesh out what are the issues before you get into the real meat of the application. And so we work quicker. We can do things quicker than other regulators because of that agility.
Yeah, and definitely we are witness to that. And my colleagues and our team in London have all but praise for the regulator and the agility and mobility and ability to fast track applications. They've had experience with other regulators in other jurisdictions, and certainly it has been nowhere as quick and as efficient a process. So that, I think, holds us in good stead, and as you say, makes us a very strong jurisdiction and contender out there.
And I think, Michael, if I could interrupt you, one of the key things is the attitude and the approach, the mindset of the regulator. If the regulator looks at himself, as many do across the world, as your teacher and speaks down at you as if you were a little child, the relationship is strained almost from the beginning. What our regulator in Gibraltar does today is sees a firm as a client, and it requires to provide you with a service. That's why they're there. They're not there to talk down at you. They're there to work with you to resolve problems in the same way as you would want to resolve a client's problem. And I think that mindset and that attitude is absolutely fundamental to a regulator having the respect for the firms that they need to have. If you email your regulator, they should damn well respond within 24 hours. And if not, I want to know, because it's my job to ensure that they're efficient. They do their regulatory decisions, but they're going to work in a proper and professional way with all of their firms. And I think that is one of the differences between this and many regulators around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you spot on there. We've had first-hand experience and success out of operating out of Gibraltar, and certainly many businesses are benefiting from that. What about individuals? What's the attractive nature for individuals, and also not just the individual, because perhaps many years ago it would just be an individual looking at tax residency status and that's it. But I see Gibraltar's definitely moved on a lot, and it's not just the individual looking at Gibraltar and coming and settling here. It's the individual and her families coming and settling into Gibraltar, which is great. So can you share with us a bit of what those driving factors are that continues making us? I mean, I've got a list certainly of those, but share it with our audience, please.
I think that the big change from now to, say, 15 years ago, we were in a numbers game.
Yeah.
We were doing volume. Today, that has flipped entirely on its head. We now have a far, far, far smaller quantity of business, but the quality of that business is, you can't compare it to what we had before. So what that has translated to is more and more people making Gibraltar their home. Why do they make it their home? Tax is actually not such an important one. It is important, but it's not as important as some of the other, what we call the softer issues, which I believe to be more quality of life. I mean, you will know, as I do, many people that have come to Gibraltar on a 3-year contract, working for a bank, working for a fund manager, working in insurance, law, whatever. And 20 years later, they're still here. These are people that have made this place their home. And of course, they bring their families. If you're looking for tax residency, you don't take your family there. You just have an address, you just have that. We don't do that anymore. And so the kind of people moving and living here, bringing their families here, has meant that the quality of everything, because the more demand there is for better quality hotels, better quality of restaurants, better quality of infrastructure, it all feeds off each other. So actually the product that we have and that we all enjoy as people that live here has improved for the benefit of all. So for the benefit of our business community, for the benefit of people that come to live here, and importantly, for the benefit of our residents. So we've all benefited from that significant increase in the quality of life that we all enjoy. And so I think that's one of the key issues. I mean, to be able to I sit here in my office and I can see across the Straits of Gibraltar to Africa. It's a 40-minute ride ferry. It's crazy that you can be in Tangier because of the time difference at the same time as you left. You've got Spain, you've got Portugal, 3 hours drive, 2.5 hours drive. You've got Seville and Cadiz and Granada if you want to go skiing.
You've got ski resorts, 2.5 hours drive up the road.
I mean, people have the best windsurfing spot an hour away in Tarifa from here. So the access you have to the neighboring region is a part of what we enjoy, a part of the quality of life package. And so I think all of those things combine with the ability to work as if you were sitting in the City of London is a powerful package for individuals, as opposed also to their employing companies too.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty powerful, and we will know people that come and start working for a firm in financial services gaming and say, oh my God, why didn't I do this 15 years ago?
Yeah, I think geographically, our positioning couldn't be better, and as you say, there's so many pluses to our proposition in both culturally and in many other factors for sure. Albert, we're coming to an end of this edition now. Given what you know and what you've shared with us today, how do you think Gibraltar's economy will transform this year, and especially as we move full steam ahead into a post-Brexit environment? And as important, I guess, is what should businesses and individuals and their families be considering or looking out for?
Well, I think the cost of COVID has to be paid for. And so I think there's going to be an element of tightening of belt. I think that's unavoidable in any country across the world. We've all borrowed heavily to keep economies going and to keep our businesses ticking over, albeit at the rates of furlough and all the other levels of support. But if you could imagine a business that loses the income that it's receiving, which is what we normally receive in taxes and everything else, and at the same time has increased cost through paying out the furlough scheme, the health services have been put to extraordinarily extra costs than you normally would have. It's a double whammy. And so everyone has had to borrow to be able to fund these issues. And so I think if I look forward, there's going to be a tightening of belt for sure. That's unavoidable.
Yeah.
But I also think at the same time as I say that, in terms of the areas that I look after in online gaming and financial services, I think we have an enormous opportunity in the coming 12, 18, 24 months to really finish the work, if I can, of ensuring that all our infrastructural work, our legislation, our innovation, are all now in a place to be able to be taken to the next level through our relationship with the United Kingdom. Over the next 12 months, and in the introduction in January of 2022, when the new UK legislation comes into place, I think the opportunities are going to be extraordinary as they are now, but it's going to take us some time for people to really understand what it is that you can do from Gibraltar. So for the next 12 months, we're working in the transitional provisions, which means that we have access to the UK, and then the permanent position, the one that will run indefinitely, will be legislation coming through UK Parliament towards the end of this year. So it's an extremely exciting time. We keep working on all the niche areas, so on insurance, on family offices, on banking, on blockchain and DLT. These are all the little areas that I think will continue to enable us to grow in the way that we'd like to grow, with good quality, serious business coming to Gibraltar. Because what we did in blockchain, for example, by regulating it, was ensured that we got the good business coming, the good quality business. Because if a firm is not prepared to be regulated, then we don't want them here. And what that does is filter the good firms coming through who want to be regulated, because you can go and set up anywhere in the world and not be regulated. We were the only place in the world that you could be regulated from. And so we knew that by doing that, we would attract the good quality firms. So when I look back 2 years since we did this, I'm delighted at the quality of the firms we've managed to attract and who are our stakeholders working with us in developing that space. So we'll keep our eye open for opportunities, we'll keep our eyes open for the niche areas, and of course we'll continue to work very hard on the traditional areas with firms like yourselves in developing those further to ensure we always stay fit for purpose. That's an ongoing test. It never stops, it carries on. But that work is what gives us the opportunity to keep innovating, to keep developing, and to keep growing for the future. So I think it's an exciting time ahead.
Yeah, I agree. We're looking forward to continue working and developing and growing our business and our hub from Gibraltar and expanding our services from Gibraltar, and clearly, definitely hungry to support and help those new businesses coming to Gibraltar to help with their foreign exchange and their international banking needs. So yeah, exciting times ahead, no doubt, Albert. So time is upon us now. It's sped along very quickly. Albert, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for your fascinating insights and for sharing those conversations with us today. We can all but wish you all the very best into 2021, and we certainly hope that we have an opportunity to catch up again this year and perhaps have a second session on Gibraltar and how Gibraltar is developing. So thank you.
With pleasure. I'd love to do that. And thank you very much, Michael, for inviting me on, and stay safe. And to all of your viewers, I wish you all a very healthy, happy and prosperous 2021. Look after yourselves, and let's hope we can get through this and then begin to have some form of normality as we come out of this horrific pandemic. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be with you and to work with Moneycorp in all the things and all the areas that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Albert. Fantastic. So Moneycorp Bank exists to help you and your business thrive. Absolutely, we're here to help local business in Gibraltar, and we're keen to help businesses internationally to evolve and develop in Gibraltar and out of Gibraltar too. If you enjoyed our webinar today, please like and share on social media. As mentioned, this is our final episode of Going Global webinar series, and as you probably heard, I'm keen to get Albert on later on this year on our next series if possible. So from the Moneycorp Bank team, we hope you've enjoyed the series. If you would like to catch up on previous episodes, then by all means, please head to our news and webinar hub webpage or on the YouTube channel. Thank you once again for joining us, and we wish you all the very best in 2021. Bye-bye.